trying to make things happen and then it works out. I hope it went well. I can only imagine how difficult this must have been, you know, the interviews with the survivors.
It was actually very empowering because they've become leaders who give back to their community in Baghdad. So it was not as traumatizing as the first stories I heard. It was more actually empowering. So I was happy with the interviews.
Thank you so much, Dashni. I really appreciate what you're saying about also transforming, you know, the fact that you're transforming from having a, you know, victim approach to a survivor's approach. You know, I think this is also very important, you know, particularly for young women to be able, you know, to know that they have the power within themselves to overcome and then to thrive. You know, it's not easy. But we're so very much looking forward to hearing you about, you know, your experience working in humanitarian setting, sharing the voices of our sisters. And I know you're now in Iraq, and of course saying how our community members who are also present can be, you know, of support to community, a sisterhood of support, and how can we build bridges, you know, because you sitting in Baghdad doesn't change our connection, you know, and even young women who are participating today. So we're going to start the Be Powerfully talk. Thank you everyone for your patience. Thank you for connecting. We have an amazing sister today sitting. Her name is Dashni Morad. You may know her as a singer. She's an artist before being an entertainer, but she's also an amazing young woman, you know, and I'm sure you've seen her profile. She's focused on raising the voices of young women around her, on building sisterhood and making sure that she uses her platform. You know, she has an amazing platform. She's an amazing human being, having a great platform, using her platform to recenter voices of young women in humanitarian setting. So I don't want to take too much time. Dashni, we welcome you, and we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts, hearing your ideas, hearing how we can be of support, and then we'll have a Q&A with our community members. Thank you so much, my sister. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to try to, I've written down so I don't, so I'm not confusing. So now it's on another screen with my speech, but if you don't see me or something goes wrong, please notify me. Hello? Oh, what happened?
I was muted.
So if I'm on another screen and I'm reading from this, nothing is wrong, right? I can still continue.
No. You can continue.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll start. So I would like to start with a quote of mine. It says, "Staying silent is never an option. The voice we have been giving is a blessing, and it's the most powerful tool we have as humans." So my name is Dashni Morad, and I'm a Kurdish humanitarian activist and singer from the Kurdish region of Iraq. And again, it's such a pleasure to talk all of you here during this Zoom gathering. I am in Baghdad, and I just finished interviewing survivors of gender-based violence, and they showed me the power of their voices. Now, going to my life, my earliest memories are of running after UN helicopters as they tossed food and other aid onto the mountains where me and my family and thousands of refugees were. And as a young woman in my 20s, all they taught me was, you can't. Yet I was the first woman on TV making history by breaking every wall possible. And then again, as a singer, I introduced progressive pop music in 2007 with religious leaders on BBC saying she should be hanged with a rope of fire. I continue to receive all these pushbacks from the conservative parts of society. I never gave up, but then in 2014, my supposedly trusted backers pulled the rug under my feet. And they didn't stop there. I was publicly shamed, threatened, harassed, manipulated, abused. And my music career lay dormant for the next 4 years. And why? Because I could not be controlled and owned. And so my music and my legacy was given to another singer. And this man could do this because he had his male privilege, patriarchal system, and I was muted. But this has all been a life experience and left me with a burning desire to fight for gender equality and to educate children about the environment and climate change. So I have always considered myself a humanitarian first, with my music as just a tool to spread my message. And for the past 7 years, I've worked tirelessly to build my own charity, Green Kids. We've supported children affected by poverty. And to date, we renovated 23 schools, donated over 200,000 books, and we've established 5 mini libraries in refugee camps. And my women's rights initiative, Female Voices of the World, was born from my own story, from my own suffering, because I was publicly vilified after photos of me were shared online without my permission. And my own voice was silenced. And in this dark time, I found strength in the stories of other women who had similar experiences. And this was in 2016, May 2016. I started a hashtag, Female Voices of the World, on Instagram, me and a phone and a broken woman. And I just shared stories of women and content that pushed gender equality and highlighted gender-based violence. And it kind of became something big within my community. And then going into the power of young women for humanitarian action, I'd like to start with, just like people share collective biography, so do women all over the globe. We share a common heritage of suppression, patriarchy, emancipation, and quest for gender equality. This knows no boundaries or ethnicity. So we are connected on a very deep levels. We are sisters bound by our faith. And women here in Iraq and the Kurdistan region, they see beyond power and greed and are working hard despite all of the suppression we face by tribes, by religion, by society. And if you look at this Yazidi genocide that happened in 2014 and the Mosul invasion at the hands of ISIS, I have seen how the social role of men and women changed during war. I have seen women becoming first responders, including myself, and determined to build peace, especially within the Yazidi community, where many women thrived as activists to fight for justice. But what prevents us from becoming vital peace pillars in a post-conflict region? And so to me, women cannot fully participate in the prevention or resolution of conflict or participate in recovery efforts if we ourselves are victims of violence, including me. I remember when I was under heavy threats by my former boss, facing mental abuse for years, my resources taken from me, and yet I was going to build camps in 2015. I was crossing dangerous checkpoints. I passed every day by burned villages to the ground by ISIS, so I could go to the camp near Mosul and give English and French classes to the kids. So imagine if I wasn't facing any harassment, I would have been now completing my dream of building Green Kids farms for kids and building libraries all over Iraq and the Kurdistan region. So what do we need? We need to continue creating better and safer space where we can all communicate, listen, and learn. We also need more and better partnership from civil society because change does happen only through collective action. And this is where young women come in with the power of their humanitarian work. They fill the gap. They are humanitarians and peace builders, and we're good at that. We create those safe spaces and we build those bridges and we make those collaborations possible. I have been able to reach so many children and families in need because of humanitarians in different parts of the region. They would be quick and they would listen. I remember in 2017, there was a heavy clashes in a city in Iraq, and we were able within one day to provide food for 2 weeks for more than 20 families. And this summer, my NGO was providing bags to orphan kids. And it was, again, peace builders who came to the rescue just because others were delaying the project female peace builders that would listen and understand. So my conclusion is, when it comes to humanitarian work, we women are quick, understand better, and always choose humanity above everything else. And I believe peace comes from understanding one another better. We work selfless and defend the most vulnerable. And I know this because I have worked with countless volunteers, activists, peace builders, and humanitarians. I have campaigned for UNICEF, UNFPA, BCF, SEED, UNDP, Rwanda. I've worked with consulates, and my activism has been supported by the local government and the Dutch and the Canadian, and now by the Americans and the British. So we see great people everywhere. We're not biased, and we just see everyone working on peace building. And so we reach out to them every day. And what is the great news now is that these institutions and governments and NGOs, civil society, people like you, you're starting to see the tremendous role women play in Iraq.
Sorry, Dashni, go ahead, please.
Yes. And so, sorry. And what I want to say is that they continue to see us. And just the other day, I was invited by representatives of the European Union and different governments, and they were inviting people like me to join a table to discuss gender-based violence. I know it's just a gathering. I know that's just too naive for me to think I will make a change, but they're starting to notice us because we are the change makers. And why are we important? Because we humanitarians, female humanitarians, we're not biased. We look for hope and spark within every group, every community and people. We like to collaborate, and we do not judge anyone. And through collaborations, we've been able to bring so many communities in this war-torn, divided place together. But however, we are losing the power of these young female humanitarians if we do not listen to the sounding warnings, because our rights and safety, including mine many times, our rights and safety as women are under pressure. We have to take action now, because our rights is not any opinion. And violence against women in Iraq and the Kurdistan region has become worse since the coronavirus pandemic. And this prevents other peace builders from their work. But thanks to social media, we connect to people like you, humanitarians like me and Dr. Zahara, who's from Baghdad. We connect, we find common ground, Arabs and Kurds and other minorities and people, to do what? To serve humanity. So again, we hold something else that is very precious. We hold the key to reconciliation. That's what we do. Because this is a divided region. It's put together 100 years ago under colonial rule. And it has a bloody past. Many of the communities, we hold a grudge against each other. We do not trust one another. We are angry at one another. But we humanitarians, we're the one who can find ways to reconcile between one another. I was able to reconcile with people from the south of Iraq during a UN Women gathering where we had a conversation. And then it shows that we are proof that women understand the dynamic and events in our community. I know female political activists like Naring in the US, who's not afraid to talk about Assyrian genocide and how we, the Kurds, and other minorities had hand in this bloody past. And another example is Ruwaida Mustafa, a political activist who's not afraid to applaud the government for good deeds, but also not afraid to say you are wrong. Or academic and feminist like Dr. Nezend, who teaches at a university in France. She works tirelessly for a decade on gender studies here, but she's never afraid to work with different groups, work with different political groups. But then again, when you look at the journalists, I have many journalists, especially men. I've come to find out, unfortunately, they're biased. They all represent a different ideology, a different group, whether they're local or European or from the States. They all, well, not they all, a lot of them are biased. So this is why we need to continue to amplify voices of female peace builders from the ground. We do not have interest in power. We do not have interest in controlling vulnerable communities. We want to support them. The Yazidi community deserves to live in peace and to be able to defend themselves and protect themselves. But why is it after ISIS, Sinjar is not safe? Why is it that the mass graves still need to be tested for DNA? Why do Yazidis still live in camps? Why is that? Why can't they have the right to defend themselves? And I've spoken to many female humanitarian groups, and we all agree that a precious community like them, they need our support to help them protect their identity and to help them protect their land. It's their home. We have a tremendous impact on our environment. We work every day on peace building. We dream of securing a safe future for every child, regardless of their background. I've risked my life almost every day to go back and forth and help any child in the camps that needed me. So women hold the key to peace in the Middle East. It's our time. Our common ground is serving humanity. So again, women, peace, security. So it's time for the leaders to notice us, to support us, to fund us, to listen to us. And because it's again women who bear the brunt of economic and social fallout. Yet it's women who are holding society and family together, but we all know this. We stand in solidarity with women all across the world. And now what we want to say, women in Iraq, and the two women who I interviewed, I said, what do you want to ask the team of Dream Zahara? And they said, we need you sisters to see us, to help us and to join our fight for ending poverty, inequality in Iraq and the Kurdistan region. One of the women, she couldn't sit too long because she was beaten so badly for many years that she needs to rest and go to bed every few hours. We are tired because we're selfless and it's costing our health and the ability to continue to perform. I'm always far from my family. I'm always sleepless. I work in places that have poor infrastructure and poor internet, and it's so hard to mobilize as a woman. So it's time for women like Zahara's Dream. We're grateful that you're listening to us, but I hope your next step will be to help the women of Iraq. We want you to take action and strategy now to help the women of Iraq shine, because we are so powerful, we're so beautiful, we're so talented, and we can really help so many world problems. But how can we help you when we're facing gender-based violence, when tribes, when there is no law in the Iraqi constitution to even keep up a data of how many women have been killed in 2020. I've been fighting for 2 weeks and I could not find any data of the women killed in parts of Iraq because there is no law that protects us. So you need to help us to stand up and create those laws. And at the end, I want to end this speech with, we all face challenges in our lives and learn from those experiences. But what defines us is how we react to those challenges and what we choose to do with those valuable lessons we learn. So from Baghdad, I would like to say to all of you, thank you, sisters, for listening to me. I believe in you and I salute you in your continuous activism for a better, fairer, equal world. Thank you.
Dashni, this was so powerful. Of course, I took a lot of notes so that we can follow up on a lot of the recommendations you shared, but this was, we can feel your passion. We can feel your passion. We can feel your determination. We can feel how committed you are. We can feel how inspired you are by the women, the young women, and also the mothers. You know, you mentioned some of our sisters who are older in Iraq who had been, you know, going through years of harassment, of violence, and, you know, cannot even carry on physically, you know, because the impact of this on your mental does also impact your physical health, you know. So I want to open the floor to our sisters who are here. I know that many of them may have questions to discuss, but before I come back to you, my sister, again, I want to send your you love. I want to send you strength. I know that you're taking your own time sitting with us, and you're taking your own time going on fact-finding missions to make sure that we don't forget our sisters from Iraq, you know. So this is very powerful for us to note. I see that we have some of our sisters on the call who have questions. Joanna, if you want to come in, and then we also have Christelle. I see Christelle. Joanna, please come in. Thank you.
Thank you, Dashni. I can't see here. The wrong screen. Thank you. I don't know. Can you hear me? I can only see the big screen.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, my name is Joanna Meyer. I'm originally from California, but I live on the East Coast and have had the opportunity to spend quite a lot of hours at the United Nations. And a few years ago, I started talking with people about the health effects of the depleted uranium in Iraq. One, it affects, adults. There's high rates of cancer, and there are perhaps the most severe cases of infant deformity that I've ever seen in my life. And part of what made me want to keep talking about this is because I can't forget the pictures that I've seen. And so I know a little bit about how policy works, but I'm wondering if you have any suggestions about any aspect of this, because it's not only the removal of the highly the waste that will be there forever, that will continue to affect people's health, but it also the conversation also involves the development of the health sector and how people can even be treated. I have friends who are from Iraq, and they may have to go to Jordan or to UAE for their health treatments, and so probably many people can't go to get their healthcare outside of the country. So I'm wondering if you have any suggestions about how I can, about this or any networks. Thank you so much.
Thank you for caring. First of all, sorry, I need to mute this. I think that what's happening, I've spoken to my friends at PAX, it's a Dutch NGO also researching waste in Iraq at the moment. They released a study on waste because of war in the past decade in Iraq and the Kurdistan region. I can forward you that study or get you in contact with PAX, who are very dedicated in working on this issue. I truly think that there needs to be support for building better hospitals with good equipment. The hospitals, the cancer hospitals, are overcrowded. They don't have enough resources to support, especially the children who are in these packed hospitals. I truly believe that we need to be supported with advanced hospitals where anyone can, as soon as possible, can get treatment. And at the same time, we need more NGOs to come here and to research the waste of what you mentioned and where it is exactly, so that they can pressure institution like UN or the international community and governments, so that they can again pressure the Iraqi government to come with policies and laws that can prevent or that should take care of this waste as soon as possible. But without better, further detailed studies on the waste, there cannot be any pressure on the local government or on a big organ like UN to continue looking into this serious case.
I've seen actually documents and studies on where the depleted uranium is, because there have been multiple regional conflicts, but the U.S. Invasion of Iraq is mainly why there's the issue of the depleted uranium now. And so there are studies, that show exactly in what towns and exactly what kinds of military equipment you know, the artillery was used on women's, but I've also seen other studies that were written by non-Iraqi people, different countries that tried to confuse the researcher about it being a risk. And so you know, I believe strongly in the power of NGOs. I don't know what I want to ask. I guess, you know, the pressure needs to be increased.
I also really believe in the power of local NGO, because we make really a great impact. And I think the local NGOs really need to be supported to continue collaborating one another, so that the community can see this NGO belonging to this part or in this city is collaborating with another city, because going from one city to another, people think you're going to another country. This is how we see one another. And I think that the issue around the waste that is in all over Iraq is very, very serious. And I do know there might be groups who want to manipulate this so that it can add more support towards a political group or an army group that's laying somewhere. So that's why there needs to be studies to be done by different groups, so that someone like you can filter and find the truth within that and make your own opinion on that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dashni. Thank you, Joe. If we can go on to our sister Crystal. Crystal, I saw you commented if you want to come on the floor for our sister Dashni. Crystal? Okay. Okay, Jess, do you want to come in? I see your hand.
Hi. Thank you for your talk. It was really inspirational, and I know a lot of us feel what you're saying, and we want to be aligned with you and help you in every way. I did say amen in the chat, because what you were saying about how all the investigations with the mass graves and how nothing's being done, and like you said, local NGOs are the only ones doing the work to even gather evidence to make sure that it doesn't go away. So if there is a tribunal that comes up, that the evidence is there. You said something in your remarks that I want to hear you elaborate a little bit more on. You said that religious leaders in particular really lashed out at you as one of the stakeholder groups that targeted you. And I'm curious, I know that each context is very different, and depending on the community and the individual, what is it that you would say in the religious community, what's needed to like get them on board to align with women peace builders and women humanitarian, to really, because they're, you know, a huge stakeholder group in Iraq. So what is it that needs to change?
That's a great question. I need so much time to think about that. I think that, but first of all, they are very scared of us coming out of the house and taking other roles than a mother, or taking care of the kids or of the house. I think that what's really needed to reach these religious groups is by having better representation of women in media. Our media are all run by men. All of the media I know, I've worked with, they're all men running it. There's a lot of misogynist there. There's a lot of sexism there, ageist, and they've reached their position without any efforts. So the way they see women is, once you're out of the house, you're objectified, you're lost, your body is not yours, it belongs to those men in the media. So it starts with making sure that for the medias to be pressured, whether to get trainings, and I know that's not enough. We just need to push more for women to take bigger and better positions within media, so that they can find ways to amplify voices of women. The way singers public figures, any woman who's a public figure is represented in media is horrible. The only question someone like me gets on TV is, are you still not married? You're almost 35. Did you do any surgery on your face? Well, last year I did one of the biggest exhibition highlighting all of the women and girls killed in 2019. And that was the purpose I went to the show, but they wouldn't even ask me about it. Our media plays a very big role in the way they are showing our women, even the music videos and even our films and series. The way they're just showing how women are outside is horrible. And they refuse to show all of these smart women, educated women, accomplished women. They just don't want to do that. And I think with the religious leaders, it's way too early to reach out to them and join a conversation with us. It really starts with media, and at the same time to really push for a law in the Constitution that our questions are challenged and that we are protected in a new Constitution. But there is no law that can even count how many gender-based violence is happening in Iraq. There is no law in that. And there's the tribal part, there's the religion part. To me, it's impossible to reach to them because I can't even enter a mosque as a woman. I'm aware that there are some parts in a corner where I can enter as a woman. I just think through my experience, we need to have better representation of women in media so that we can educate everyone at home, from the religious leader to a child, to show that women is also this when she's outside. When she's a singer and she's dancing, it doesn't mean that you should shame her. You should celebrate her. And so to me, it all goes back to the media. For now, a temporary solution.
Thank you so much, Dashni. Thank you, Jess, for such a great question. And I think, Dashni, you've mentioned something that is very important. How do we depict women? How do we trap and imprison women between the public space and between the private space, and I think, as you've mentioned, it's for all of us to come together and see how we can make sure that we use our own voices. It comes back to what you discussed at the very beginning when you mentioned that to help your own suffering, you were highlighting the stories of other women, and giving positive, storylines about what they were doing. And talking about storyline and positive, I would like to invite Starry Sisters. I'm going to do a quick highlight you to be part of the conversation. I know that, for instance, within Zahara's room, we do have the Voices of Positive Change. We have it on mostly in French now. So I would like to invite Madula, who's working on that, to perhaps share a bit on what does it mean for us to, I see Madula, oh, okay, I see it's, okay, it's okay. Okay, if you want to come in, perhaps to talk about what does it mean for us as sisters to have this solidarity, particularly through the Sisters Keepers, and how the Sisters Keepers can be of support to Dashni's young women. How do we help them through our platform and our networking? Thank you. Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Verlaine, and thank you so much, Dashni. That was so powerful. And in Zahara's dream, we have the Sisters Keepers. This is a space where we include young women, and we learn through them, and they also learn through us. So we currently really need women from the Middle East and the Asian communities, and I hope, you being here, you will assist us to get more women, especially those from Iraq and Bangladesh, where you are. So for us here, we thank you so much, and we just hope to keep on connecting with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It would be an honor, and I know so many great women that would love to take part in this sisterhood.
Thank you so much, Dashni. So what we can do perhaps also as a follow-up is to look at liaising with you after this talk. We'll have our team discussing with you so that we can identify some young women who can be part of the mentorship program we have. We're going to have a CSW event in March, and Jessica, whom you just heard, who's our North America lead, we'll be able to give you some details, about what we're planning for CSW and how we can support your work and highlight it. I would like to call Irene. I know Irene is one of our community members. She's been very active on Twitter now, highlighting what you've been sharing. Irene, do you want to come in?
All right. Can you see me? Right. Okay. Amazing. It's a pleasure to meet you. And I just wanted to say that your journey is very inspirational. So thank you so much for your talk today. And I actually have a question. I was still trying to come up with a good question, but this would be about something that you said at the beginning of your talk. I think you mentioned something about your work also tackling environmental and climate issues. And I'm interested in that because that is my job. That's what I've been doing in the last 8 years, let's say. And I know that women, when it comes to especially climate challenges, they are the ones who suffer the most. So I'm interested in knowing how your work has been tackling these issues. If you can elaborate more.
Of course. Well, we started in 2013. What we wanted is to reach children. And back then I was still singing and I was invited by children to visit them at school. And I saw that they didn't have a garden and that their school was really poor. And our idea was, let's go to schools and educate them about the importance of protecting and preserving the environment. This was in 2013. And we would continue to clean the very extremely littered mountains here. We have beautiful mountains, can be compared to Switzerland. At the moment it's snowing on the highest mountain here. But it wouldn't end. The next day would be filled with litter during picnic. So we thought, how can these kids, how can we teach them about environmental protection when they have no green space to play in? So we started to build green gardens in the schools. Because we thought if they play there and when they grow up, they will learn how to protect it. And so this is what we've been doing over the years: renovate the schools, provide green gardens and books that would highlight loving animals, or we would give each class a plan. They had to name it and take care of it. They're very simple actions we did. Sorry, but it was so helpful and the kids are so good at learning. They're so fast. So I really believe that we can do so much within a very small time frame of 5 years and 10 years if we continue to create green spaces for the children, if we can continue building children's farms where we can invite children of different schools and where they can help us grow food or help us with the little animals, whether it's chicken or the sheep. So we need to involve them in the process of growing food and playing in green places, and it's that because their schools is just cement and they're lucky with their tables, which is sometimes older than 20 years. This is what we've been doing in the past, but in the last few years, I stopped the work with Green Kids because it was so challenging to get funding from local companies, because here these companies only fund NGOs that are linked to a certain powerful person or it represents a certain ideology. So to be a really independent woman and having a local small NGO is very challenging to get your hands on funding. And so I started to become creative, and I can forward later via email. We started to make videos, and in the videos it explains to the kids what's the environment. It's people, it's your mother, it's the cat, it's the tree, the birds, and the river. So what we want to do is to make series of these videos and get support of the Minister of Education and pass this on over the schools so they can play it for the kids. But at the moment, can you believe it that the schools have stopped for many months? You have online schooling for the private schools, but what about the other children? They have no school. And my friend said, UNICEF said, many of the parents said, it's okay, just don't go back because there's no school anyway. So they're just working hard to put them back to school when the next semester opens. There are many ways to support the kids with environmental awareness. And I think the best way is that they're surrounded by it. In the green gardens, they have no green space to play in their neighborhood. So I'd rather see children's farms in the neighborhoods. I'd rather see children's playground being very smart and educational. But they have nothing of these, nothing that could educate them on that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your answer. And I agree with you that environmental education starts in school with kids. So that's amazing to learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
So much. Thank you, Dashni. Sorry, thank you, Irene. We have Joanna who came back for a question on what you mentioned, Dashni, about the seeds, you know, about the work you're doing. Joanna, do you want to ask your question? I saw it in the chat.
Thanks. Hello again. I'm very interested in this. I have a friend who used to be a mayor in the capital in Algeria, and he talked to me about the lack of recycling. And so I've been working on how to improve the green economy and recycling landscape in Algeria, really nationally. And so I know adults need to know why to not throw garbage on the ground, but also children. And so, you know, inspiration is one of our best tools, but I'm wondering if there's anything else that you can add about the green spaces, because, you know, in a city, maybe that land is owned by someone else and they're not going to give it up. Maybe there is a park, and so, you know, it would be trying to rehabilitate the park to include this this education. But what I want to ask, I'm wondering if you can say any more about the early childhood environmental education or other community tools that you found out about over time that could be transferable to Algeria or to Nigeria or, you know, to any place.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think that so many of the women in the traditional neighborhoods, they don't have much to do. The children go to school or they don't go to school. There is not much to do for them. I really believe that when the children see the green space, when they see the recycling in front of them, when they see no litter, they will learn from that. But if you come and look at neighborhoods here, it's house after house after house and narrow streets, car after car after car. The sound pollution, the light pollution, and the very dirty water of the house is running on the street. So maybe an idea would be how to create a green playground for children in every neighborhood in one of the cities, that they're all connected, as a place where mothers can feel safe and sit without being stared by men while their kids are playing. Sorry, I miss water here. And in a way that the playground is educational, like when they're jumping, that it makes energy, but like when they're finished their drinks and they put it somewhere, it's just to be experimental, that they get a gift or that they get a book that talks about what's the environment, why is recycling important. But we need these women in the communities because the children are with them. If we give in every traditional and poor neighborhood that's forgotten, if we give them these experimental green playground safe spaces where we can come together with smart tools and recycling and playing, the woman will continue to nurture this. Because they're so bored, they don't move, and they'll have a reason to go there, to bring their kids, and not just sit at home and look at the series, which is usually Turkish series, where it's all about marriage and cheating. And we need to get them out of these boxes into these fun playgrounds where they can move. I really believe in these green spaces, and there are so many young women who are working on this. And I know someone like NJ Jauher, she's an environmental activist, only 24 years old, who works on this. I know another girl who works with IOM in Iraq every year, they cycle with people around the city, and it's a huge event. So the amount of young women who are ready to sit and take on initiative are countless. They're amazing. And the neighborhoods are ready to give you the space for you to make it into this fun, safe, clean, green, because when it's visible, they want more of that.
Right.
No more workshops, no more trainings, no more talks. Let's put them there, the green spaces, the green fun playgrounds for every neighborhood, and you will see the change and the result very quickly.
Thank you.
Okay.
What if the land is already used up? Do you have recommendations if there's not an ability to make a park or to refurbish one?
Well, there are so many houses in those neighborhoods who are cheap to buy. What if an initiative through you comes and buys a few houses and tears it down and build trees that are smart and take in the bad air and make it into a fun space, and even with a little bus where it can be like a library? That was also one of the dreams of Green Kids. So imagine if it's a small space and you can have a green library bus, and the kids can come in, and for return of reading a bit in the book, they can get a compensation. And that compensation, I don't know if that's smart, but there are ways to create these spaces. And of course, by pushing the government, pushing for policies so that the spaces are there. I do know there are great people within the government who really want to be a part of making the cities greener. And I think they're very alone within the government, and they would need support from someone like you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dashni. Thank you, Joanna, for such a great question. Kerisha, would you like to come in? We see your hand up.
Thank you, Verlaine. Hi, Dashni.
Hello.
So I have a very maybe different question, but I hear you speaking about the climate, and what we've seen on TV with Iraq is just something else. And we always wonder how do people live a normal life? Can you even live a normal life in such an area? And my question is, like, I work in the water industry, and one of the things that we notice is, when there's a lack of water, it does affect the women the most, because you're looking at communities that girls cannot go to school because of things like their menstrual cycle. And it causes a lot of oppression in a way where your education is basically non-existent because of these struggles that you have that, should be a right to everyone. So I wanted to know, in terms of that, what is the situation like with the young girls, with the teenagers, in terms of school, in terms of water supplies, in terms of dealing with normal life, like having your menstrual cycle? Is it, and I know it's also a place where you mentioned religion, you mentioned these things with society, and I'm guessing it is a place where these things are stigmatized. So how do the girls go about this? I don't know whether we can put in quotation marks, normal life, and how is it that one can actually contribute and help them?
Well, I think, as you are very right, it's very stigmatized here. We don't talk about our periods, and young girls. I am aware that you go to a supermarket and you want to buy the Materband in Dutch. I don't know the name in English, but if you buy this sanitary, is that the name in English?
Yeah, the
if sanitary you buy
pad.
Yes, if you buy that supermarket here, they it's with a black bag. So next to it, there's a black plastic bag. You put it in that because it's such a shame around it. Then you go to the cashier. And secondly, I remember as a child when I got my period, my mom, the first thing she said was, "You are now a woman. If a man touches you, you will burn and go to hell." So I was so scared of having my period since then, because she didn't explain me on how to take care of myself and how do I do this. And with school, it was just immediately they shut you down. I do know that there were companies in the past that were distributing sanitaries among girls. It's still not enough, but it's something we don't talk about it. So I also don't have much information about it. However, I'm sure that it's very much needed for these women to be provided. I do know that UNFPA does have dignity kits for the camps and do support women with this. The water problem is a lot in the south of Iraq, and of course this is affecting the women in the area. As we speak, Iran is building these dams, and so the water across the Zagros mountains is already become less and less, and rivers are drying towards us. The schools I've been visiting, over 23 schools, the toilets are in very bad states. Sometimes, not sometimes, many of the times the water don't work, but it's the way they're raised. So they think this is normal. And the less they feel safe, the better and easier the girls accept it not to go back to school. So if we continue to talk about that, to have a period is normal, and if it's not a shame to go to the supermarket and to buy it without shame, this will help them to take care better of their health. And when the schools have water and good toilets, then these girls will go back to school and not listen to the parents and say, okay, I won't go back to school, it's fine. So yes, there's a lot of lack. The more you go towards the south, the more it becomes tribal and religious, and the more the places where there's the destruction of war, like Mosul right now, it's in total destruction. It's harder for girls, of course, very, very much. But there is also a lot of hope to fix this.
Thank you so much, Dashni. You have shared something that is very important, which is hope. How do we keep hope and build on hope to move forward? And you're a vessel of hope. I want to say that you have shared that there's so much hope, so much love, and so much energy that I trust and I'm sure reverberates around you, you know, at home. And again, the Zahara community is very much looking forward to supporting the great work that you're doing. We have Giuliane who has raised her hand, and then followed by Kenny. Giuliane, do you want to come in?
Yes, thank you very much, Evelyn. Thank you, Dashni, for your inspiring story. I'm just listening to you and learning a lot. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Dashni, I do not work properly on the humanitarian field, but last year it came out an interesting experience because I have some friends studying at the Science Po University, and they came to me because I'm actually specialized in food law, and I work also with food security and food justice. And they were developing a food security action plan for a camp, a refugee camp. And the main issue they were trying to address, of course, was how to feed people, especially the most vulnerable groups, and this includes, of course, like women and young girls. But there was one aspect that I mean, I did not have a lot of experience to talk about this, but that was coming in my mind was the problem related to the fact that when you have food insecurity, of course, it generates an increase in the risk of being exposed to sexual exploitation or even other kinds of abuse. So I would like to hear from you if you have already faced like to any of these circumstances, and how can we also be more attentive to these problems, you know, because of course this is I don't know if it is the right term, but of course this is also a transversal issue when it comes to food security. So thank you.
Sorry, one more time, your question about what I have faced. I couldn't hear it clearly.
Okay, so I just would like to learn from you your experience in addressing this issue related to food insecurity, and like thinking about the level of exploitation and abuse, the increased level in this circumstance, especially in refugees or other areas.
Well, I worked in refugee camps and displaced camps from 2015 until 2018. Towards 2018, the World Food Programme cut 70% of the food share because they wanted the people to go back to their own communities. And of course, this was really affecting the families. And through my work collecting money abroad, or through TV shows collecting money, we would be able to distribute food, but that would be so little. But I think an overall UNHCR did a tremendous job of what I've seen in making sure that those camps that I worked in around Erbil did not have shortage in food. However, when they cut it with 70% to force the people to go back to their own communities, many people went to start to work in restaurants. And so then they were being exploited and were working 6 days a week for maybe $200. And no one would care because they're refugees and people think I myself don't have a job. They should be happy they have a job. I don't have more experience on working on food and security, but I am aware that it's an issue in still many parts of Iraq, and it's leading to a lot of domestic abuse in the homes. I was on a call for 1 week because we had a lockdown in March and April. For 2 months, everything was still in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. So I was on this hotline receiving people who needed desperately food because we don't have insurance here. When there's no work and everything is shut down, no one will receive insurance or still their paycheck at the end of the month. And those who were affected were displaced people and refugees from Syria who were working around the cities, especially in restaurants. And it did lead to a lot of domestic abuse. And I know this through the DCVAO, the Directorate of Gender-Based Violence and Family. And they've mentioned to me that the number, because of the corona pandemic, is higher compared to 2019. And I interviewed actually 2 women for UNFPA at a town at the north of Iraq. One of the women who was abused by her husband was for many, many years. And she said, sometimes after I divorced him, I didn't receive any support from family or the community. And I live in this close, small town. She said, sometimes I didn't have food for days. But there was someone from the DCVAO, Director of Gender-Based Violence, who would help her with rice or with bulgur to help her. But now she thrived, and she's a champion in Iraq and in Iran as bodybuilder. So you have these success stories of these women who did face a lot because they had no food, but they thrived. And again, I don't have much information on food insecurity, on the way it's linked to women, but of what I'm aware during the lockdown and the pandemic, it did affected the vulnerable groups, the displaced people, the refugees, and especially women, because no food means all staying at home together, and they would face more violence from their partner, and they would be locked down. I hope I answered enough of your question.
Thank you, Dashni. It was perfect. Thank you. I mean, thank you for raising out the issue of domestic violence, because perhaps sometimes it's something that, you know, we do not look for these figures. You do not reason a lot. So it was really important to listen. Thank you for your valuable experience.
Thank you for listening.
Dashni, my sister, we're coming to the round that we don't really like, which is the almost goodbye. We could spend the evening with you, but we know that you have, you know, it's already evening with you, but we have one last question from Kenny. Kenny, would you like to come in?
Hi, thank you so much for letting me be in this beautiful Zoom. And it was such a great honor to be here, and nice to meet you, Dashni.
Oh,
I'm really glad to be here. And yes, I have a question, a simple question. What is the simplest advice you give to a teenage girl who lives in Kurdistan to be inspirational and have a good impact to people around her?
I would say don't let fear and limitation stop you from living your truth, living your life. Because I was silenced for 4 or 5 years because of fear. I feared them because I wanted to be a good girl, and because I wanted to marry that person I was waiting for so long, and hoping that their family would see me as a good woman. It limited me in my growth with my activism, with my NGO and my work. The moment I decided to not let fear take over my choices, I was able to be a free human. Just we are raised in Kurdistan and in Iraq with fear as women and girls. Don't do this. Don't be here. Don't go outside. Don't go. You have to be home by 8 o'clock. How could you smile to him at a cafeteria? How could you join that? This fear is on our body, and it's traumatized. It's on our chest. It's in the way, in our voice, the way we speak, the way we stand, the way we walk on the street. We don't look at the mirror on the street when we look down. So the moment you say no to fear, that's where you will start to make your own choices. And when you make your own choices, the journey of your life will be in your hand. And no matter where that journey will go, it will be beautiful, it will be inspiring, because every journey, every story is unique and beautiful, and others will think you're inspiring them.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you again.
You are welcome, and keep up.
Dashni, we want to keep you. This is so powerful. I have to say, I think we're all very moved on this talk. I'm here. I'm about to I don't want to say cry, but you know, when you're moved emotionally because of your commitment, because of your passion, because of how you've transmuted, of how you've transformed all this pain and all those fears and all those limitations into the flower that you are, into the amazing being that you are, and how you're using your being, not selfishly. You know, you could find yourself, could say in London or wherever, and just enjoy your life, but you went back home. And that's how we're even ending this discussion with a last question from a sister from Kurdistan who asked you how to be, you know, and you gave us a very simple way to do, which is to let go of fear and to start our journey. So on that, I want to leave our sisters with a thought for the weekend, to let go of fear, to start our journey that you have shared with us. You have planted the seeds. And I want to wish everyone a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Dashni, my sister, I leave you the last word, and then we'll close the meeting. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear V. Thank you, Zahara Stream. Thank you to all of the amazing women, the beautiful sisters, the intelligent women, for all of your questions, for opening my mind, for listening to me. I feel like a big burden on my chest is gone. I carry a lot of trauma, and right now my chest is burning because when I think about what happened to me, it just burns, my chest hurts. For you to listen to me, I feel empowered, and I hope that you will continue to listen to women all around the world. Thank you for giving me a platform, for giving me a voice. I am happy and I'm empowered at the moment, and I have enough energy and strength to take on whatever is coming on my journey, especially in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dashni. If we can have our sisters unmute and thank our sister and give her strength as she continues her journey and monitoring in Baghdad.
Thank you, Dashni.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your wonderful questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a blessed evening, Dashni. How do we say thank you in Kurdish?
Spas. All those voices, beautiful, beautiful, healing voices of healing. Thank you for people a little bit more.
We appreciate
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Beautiful weekend. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.